Hey, babe, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. So this is our very first episode of Loving Our 25 to Life. And I figured today we are going to talk about how we came up with this idea, what the purpose of it is. But before we get into all of that, from what I've read and understand about podcasts, we have to have kind of a cold opening, something that just kind of makes it fun and gets the blood flowing. And so for this first episode, what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a what if statement and you have to answer it. And then you give me a what if statement and I have to answer it. All right?
Sure.
All right.
What if I don't answer it?
Then you're living the what if statement.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So when I thought about doing this, I thought about doing a very in-depth what if statement, but I don't want to go into that much depth and detail. So I'm going to start off by saying, what if, so before I say the what if, so last year was actually our 25th anniversary, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later. And we decided that we were going to go to Hawaii for our 25th anniversary. So my what if question is, what if we never went to Hawaii?
Well, I wouldn't be as depressed as I am now because we're not there right this second. I don't know, because we wouldn't know what we were missing. But now that we've been, it's just become such a passionate place for both of us to where we want to go back again and again. True
story. True. All right. That's fair enough.
So I've got one for you that won't be revealed to everybody else probably until a future episode. But what if we had never gone on that ski trip together back in college?
That probably nothing would exist. This teaser, we will be talking about that whole trip, but I don't know. I feel like this would have all happened, but it would have been so different. So I think it would be different, but I think it would have eventually happened.
Okay.
And for those that don't know the story or whatever, it's a very, very pivotal part of our story. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into this episode.
Welcome to Loving Our 25 to Life. I'm Heather.
And I'm Bo. Together, we've been married for over 25 years.
Yeah, baby!
And this is where we talk about life, love, and all the adventures we've had along the way.
Oh, wow. Whether we're sharing stories from our marriage or taking you along on one of our trips, we're here to reflect on how we've made it this far and where we're headed next.
So grab a seat, settle in, and let's dive into another episode of Loving Our 25 to Life. We decided to start this podcast, Loving Our 25 to Life. And actually, this was your idea. So why don't you kind of talk about where this idea came from and why we're here today?
I don't remember the exact moment. I do know it was before our 25th anniversary. So this is how long it's taken us to finally get together and get this thing done. But I think I was listening to another podcast and I started thinking about all the stories that you and I have and all the stuff we've been through, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I just thought that I feel like there are couples out there that need encouragement and need to know that all the happiness that you see on Facebook isn't all that there is stuff behind that, and there are bad times, and you're not alone if you're going through one. But then kind of thinking our kids, our older two, were kind of in the season of life where they were dating their forever mates at the time. And I wanted them to have something to know about us as far as it's not easy, but it's worth every single minute of it. And so I just kind of approached Bo about how I could do a podcast. I was actually going to do it on my own. And he said, why don't we do it together? And so he had to wrap up some things that he was working on because he was super, super busy at the time with other stuff. And we just kind of sat down and planned out what we wanted to say, what we wanted to do, and how we wanted it to go. And now, a year and a half later, we are here.
One of the core theme that you wanted for us to talk about is just telling life stories, and just so we're clear, we're not any kind of counselors or marriage counselors or anything. This isn't supposed to be like a marriage counseling podcast. This is just us telling stories, and mainly for ourselves to get them on record and just have something, like you said, for the kids to go back and listen to, or any friends of ours that care enough about our lives. But one of the things that I love to do, and in my spare time, I'm usually filming in the bourbon industry. But I love to film. I love to travel and film. And so we also wanted to include some of that. So not only is it the podcast, but it's also going to be like a travel vlog. And when I say travel, we don't travel to like Asia and all that kind of stuff, but just around Kentucky, around Tennessee, around, when we go on little weekend trips. I think it would be just kind of cool to show some of that stuff and incorporate that as well. So there's going to be that aspect to this whole piece as well. Let me talk about where the name came from. Your initial idea was to call this 25 to Life. Is that because our marriage is so bad that you think of it as prison?
No, I wanted it to be kind of a teaser thing where people are like, oh, this podcast about marriage is 25 to Life. She must feel trapped too. But once you got into the podcast, you would realize that, 25 to Life is what we have left. And it's going to be better than the last 25. And I was going to talk about, the past 25 and what I wanted for the next 25 and all that. So no, it wasn't about how our marriage is like a prison.
All right. Well, that's good to know. When you approached me and said, I want to do a podcast and I want to call it 25 to Life, I thought that's really cool. So when I started to work on the logo and the branding and getting everything set up, I discovered there was already a podcast called 25 to Life, and it was about The Bachelorette, and there's probably 3 or 4 episodes. So we couldn't call it that. It was already taken, even though it was very poorly taken. So then we started kicking around other ideas. And so we came up with Loving Our 25 to Life, because in essence, that's what we want this to reflect, is the fact that, we have had ups and downs and hills and valleys and whatever, but we've loved it. And going back a little bit to the traveling, not only do we do a lot of traveling as far as do weekend trips and take 3 or 4 vacations a year, that kind of thing, but we also travel a lot for life. I mean, you started out in Louisiana. Yep. Then we lived in Mississippi for several years. Then we lived in Tennessee for several years. And now we have hopefully found our resting place in Kentucky.
Northern Kentucky, which, as I've told you before, I'm not going any further north than we are now because I don't like cold weather.
Agreed. So basically that is the gist of what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, what the purpose is. And so next episode, we are going to actually get into a little bit of history. So what are we talking about?
We're going to talk about Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and how we enjoyed that movie together.
Yeah, and also we're going to be talking about how we first met. And I don't know if anybody knows this or not. I think some of our friends know this, but we actually met in 6th grade, and I don't want to tell the story, so I want to wait till we actually get involved in the episode. But I made a promise to my grandmother when I was in 6th grade, and I upheld that promise.
And so this is kind of like just an intro, but going forward, you're going to get to learn like where my beginnings were and Bo's beginnings, and then how we met, got together, all of our dating, college life, careers, switching careers, switching states because we got bored. And then most importantly, how we together raised our 3 amazing children who I always knew I wanted to be a mom, but I never ever imagined how awesome that would be and how amazing all 3 of my kids would grow up to be. But that did not come without some blood, sweat, and tears with each and every one of them. But it was worth every minute of that, as well as the blood, sweat, and tears that we have put into each other and into our marriage.
Should we, on this podcast, rate which ones we like the best?
The kids or the podcast?
The kids.
No.
Okay. we'll keep it to ourselves. That's it for today's episode of Loving Our 25 to Life. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found something to take with you on your own journey.
Remember, love is an adventure. Sometimes it's wild, sometimes it's calm, but it's always worth it.
Yes!
If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who might need a little inspiration.
And don't forget to follow along for more episodes and vlogs documenting our travels, life lessons, and hopefully plenty of laughs.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep loving life because it is the greatest adventure of all. Bye for now.